Eternal Durdles is a Hipsters of the Coast podcast sponsored by Paragon City Games and Casthaven. You can find us on Patreon at patreon.com/eternaldurdles.
So do the fences, play it safe. You can run for cover. There's no escape. Find shelter or take a stand. It doesn't matter to that man. Ghost man's coming. He's gonna get you. Ghost man's coming. You better betcha.
Hello and welcome to Eternal Durdles. I'm your host, Zach Clark, and with me live, Nathan Golia.
That's right, everybody. I'm in Brooklyn with Zach today. I'm on a business trip to New York, and we actually just got to play some Legacy together for the first time in almost a year.
It's got to be about a year, yeah.
It would have been, I guess, last August. We played at a Star City side event.
Yeah, that's right, yep. I think I played Miracles in that, and I beat somebody playing Pox with Future Sight.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah, I don't remember what I played. But tonight I played John and lost miserably.
I played Rogue Delver and also lost miserably.
Yeah. I didn't want to bring my blue duels on the plane. It seemed like a little edgy with, how the prices are going recently.
Yeah. I don't know what I would do without blue duels in this format, honestly. I can't even think of I can play a lot of decks in this format, and I don't think I can play anything without blue duels right now. I used to play Merfolk, but I don't have any of those cards anymore, so that's not going to work.
Yeah, you can play blue duels in that just, for show if you wanted to, right?
Just open yourself up to Wasteland.
Tropical Island, Ether Vial, go. Right? Well, Zach, there were actually a lot of pretty big Legacy tournaments, so I thought we could do a paper meta checkup. One thing that often happens when we're talking about the Legacy meta is that a lot of the results come from Magic Online. But we had 5 paper tournaments last week with at least 60 people, so I think that's some nice size of tournaments. And I put together a little meta breakdown here of some of the top decks. So I looked at the top 8s of all these tournaments to see what did well.
Cool.
So, for the purposes of this discussion, there was a Titanium Games open event that was in Massachusetts, 60 players. Channel Fireball, 2.5K, wherever Channel Fireball is in California, do you know?
No idea.
Bay Area? I don't know. 86. MKM, Magic Card Market Series in Prague, had 88 players. Gigabytes Quarterly, that's Atlanta, had 84 players. And the big one was a Grand Prix Kyoto side event with 209 players in Japan. So we've got results from all over the United States and Europe and Asia.
That is literally all over the place.
Maybe we'll Antarctic Legacy tournament someday. That'd be like a whole all-inclusive package, right?
Yeah, you do that. They throw they make you watch the movie The Thing by John Carpenter.
You take a boat, you sail out from the Cape of Good Hope. Okay, so the deck that appeared the most in top 8s, and I looked at all of them and then I sort of grouped them into these uber groups, but I'm just going to say this because I think it's helpful. There were 7 Delver decks. There were 3 Grixis Delver decks, 3 Bug Delver decks, and 1 Esper Delver deck. Oh, I forgot to mention that I also put in results from one Magic Online tournament, which was a weekend challenge.
Okay.
Those usually have
something
about
larger,
60 to something people, and that's like an actual tournament with Swiss results. And that Esper Delver deck was in the Magic Online tournament. So 3 Grixis, 3 Bug Delver decks. Next big archetype was Stoneblade. There were 5 Stoneblade decks. There was a Bant deck, which I grouped separately from the other blue-white decks, just because it's a different kind of plan with the 8 dorks. That actually won the Titanium Games Open. Oh no, I'm sorry, I came in second in the Titanium Games Open. Then there were 4 copies each of Check Pile, Storm with 1 test deck, and Elves had 4 decks. There were 3 Dark Depths combo decks, and then 3 Lands decks plus 1 Bug Lands decks. That's 7 Merit Lage decks. And the big one to talk about first, there were 3 Miracles decks out of these 6 top 8s. They won the Grand Prix Kyoto side event, and it won the Prague MKM. I believe the Prague one was Espery with like some black cards, and the Grand Prix Kyoto one I think was just blue-white. So, what do you think about this? Is a pretty nice result for this new Miracles deck, right?
Yeah, I mean, before we had Sam on, I would have relegated this deck to a playing for fun tier 2, tier 3, tier 4 possibly deck that you're just running until you figure out what deck to play. But this actually seems like the deck to play if you used to play Miracles. This deck's putting up real results.
It gets really out of control with Monastery Mentor. It's like a Mentor deck now, I think, pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
Like you just kind of control the game, and then you get a Mentor down, and then your cards. I'll put more cards in your hand.
Yeah, and you're basically doing what the vintage Mentor deck is doing, but you have the option of playing 4 Brainstorms and 4 Ponders.
Yep, and whatever amount of portents or predicts. I played against this deck in the sort of new Mentor version, not tonight, but a couple weeks ago. And Mentor is a really good card. That thing gets out of control pretty fast.
Yeah. I mean that is what pushed Miracles over the top when top was in, pun intended or not intended.
I mean, I complain a lot about Miracles. I don't mind this deck because I really just hated Counterbalance. So whatever.
Yeah, as long as I'm not getting locked out by Counterbalance top, I don't really mind.
Do you play differently? Would you, if you were going to a big event now, not the 12-player event we just had, if you were going to a big event, would you think about this deck, and what would you consider doing, like in the Rug Delver deck you played tonight?
I think I would leave my deck pretty much the same as far as the sideboard's concerned. I'm not to a point yet where I think that this is enough of a threat for me to be playing Winter Orbs in my sideboard, or main deck for that matter. But if this deck starts to pick up a little bit, and we're still seeing the same number of lands decks, people who play lands don't like jump off of that deck and onto like another deck.
Right.
It's enough of a creep as far as the amount of money that you spent to get to this point to be able to play this deck that I think you just keep playing it. But if I start to see more and more of this deck and of the lands deck, I could see bringing back the Winter Orbs and trying to fight this deck. But right now, I think I'm happy to only see either one of these decks once in a tournament, and I'm cool with that.
I think if this deck takes off and Lands is still doing this well, and we can talk about that in a second, I'm on Ankh of Mishra.
Ankh of Mishra is a pretty interesting one. Yeah, in Rug, of course. Ankh of Mishra is a pretty interesting card because, you know, you're already pressuring their life total. It's sort of a non-bow with Stifle, but it's still pretty good. Your opponent needs to play lands. You're wasting their lands. You're stifling their lands. They need to get those into play. And these decks must have like a basic land advantage against you. And Ankh of Mishra still hits basics, so that's good.
Yeah, I feel like you know, these decks are trying to put a lot of lands into play. It's a good way to win the race, more so than Winter Orb, which I think is an okay card. But I feel like this Miracles deck could beat a Winter Orb.
Yeah.
You know, not like the other Miracles deck. Like, I don't know. I feel like it could beat a Winter Orb a little easier. Unexpectedly Absent.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. At the end of your turn, and then they get to untap. Ugh. All right. Well, I don't know. I think it's cool. I played Rug Delver actually last Friday. You played a standard build tonight, though. I saw you with 2 True Names in play.
2 True Names, 2 Goyce.
Yeah. I played it with 4 Narnum Renegades and 4 Hooting Mandrills. My feeling was that I could attack into all these Gurmag Anglers that are everywhere with the Narnum Renegade, and Mongoose is just not happening for right now, it seems. And I went 2-1. I actually felt like it was pretty good. I played against Grixis Delver, which was really fun. He had Stifle, too. He had Stifle and Cabal Therapy.
Oof.
I just had Stifle. But whoever won the die roll just basically steamrolled the other person.
Yeah, it sounds about right. Yeah, it seems like it's really tough to get going against like the Delver Mirror is definitely dependent on whoever has the best opening 7 / who gets to go first. And in that case, it sounds like who gets to go first is really, really advantaged.
I know I brought that up because I feel like Rug is a really good Ankh of Mishra deck, and that I think the deck is probably pretty playable right now. Like, I load up on removal. I think you and I differ on how you feel about removal.
I'm a 7 removal cards guy in my Rug deck. I play 2 Dismember, and 1 Fork Bolt, and obviously 4 Lightning Bolts, and then 3 Spell Pierce is my flex slots.
And I play the 2nd Fork Bolt instead of the 3rd Spell Pierce, so it's not that much, but I just like loading up because I feel like I'm going to play against creatures more.
Well, creature decks are definitely out there right now, that's for sure.
And like with it's like 12 to 14 virtual counter spells against Storm, with counting Stifle there, so you're not going to lose your combo matchup. But so anyway, and of course, we did see 7 Delver decks, none of which were Rug. There was a Bug deck that had Nimble Mongoose in it, though. So it was Nimble Mongoose Death Ray.
Threshold?
Bug Threshold was what it was called. I just feel like I never really feel like this is a problem. I feel like Delver is a beatable deck, and I just feel like a lot of people play it. Like once you buy the lands, the rest of the deck is like $60.
Yeah.
So,
especially Grixis, your best cards are literally commons after you get your lands.
Yeah, right. I saw a stack of Death Rates in the case at the store tonight. That must have been all from Modern players. Just sold it 2 years ago.
Yeah.
This Esper deck, I believe it had Stoneforge Mystic in it. Our friend Tim was streaming with it the next day, but he had Monastery Mentor. It's an interesting idea. I don't know, Swords Plowshares, Stoneforge Mystic with Delver. Delver's a good card. That's what it comes down to. You can play with a lot of stuff. 7 Merit Lage decks, 3 traditional lands decks, plus 1 Bug Lands deck, which we've seen floating around, and then 3 Dark Depths combo decks. Do you think this is because if there's 7 of these Merit Lage decks, there's 7 Delver decks? Is that your angle of attack against Delver to try and get Merit Lage into play?
Yeah, I think so. I think that or, what are you gonna play? Like Quicksand? Barbarian Ring is a possibility.
The regular lands deck obviously has Punishing Fire, which is a thing you can do, and Waste Lock. The Bug deck doesn't have Punishing Fire, but it has some other stuff. The Combo Depths deck is interesting. It's basically a Storm deck, right? Because they have a bunch of discard spells to protect their combo, but then they just kind of it's all land drops. I don't know, that deck does very well. There was a Depths / Reanimator deck also in one of these top 8s, which we've seen around a little bit.
Yeah.
I'm a Merit Lage fan, and now you never leave home without some sort of sacrifice effect, right? What did you have tonight? Submerge?
No, I actually went naked and didn't even play a Gilded Drake, much to my chagrin, because I ended up playing in Show and Tell, and my only out was a Gilded Drake, and I didn't have one to even hope to draw.
I don't think I had anything. I think I had Wasteland Surgical. That was my plan out of John. I might have had a Diabolic Edict. But Merit Lage is on the rise. I think you got to respect it. I wonder if we'll start seeing some more of these combos that were in Hour of Devastation. If the combo seems good, yeah, Solemnity, Mirage Mirror, they are out there. Solemnity, you just hold up a crop rotation and they can't tap out or just lose. It's sort of like playing against Splinter Twin. There were 4 check pile decks among these top 8s. I still don't know how this deck does anything. This is the other deck that I think Ankh is good against.
Yeah, any deck that's that deck can run off of three lands for sure. But I think if you're a Wasteland deck, you have to put them back into the game. You got to get back into the game against that deck, and that's one of the ways to do it is to just pressure them with 6 points of damage from your Ankh.
Yeah.
That's your Ankh is basically a price of progress that you can control the amount of damage on, as far as you're concerned.
A fetch land is 5. It's you take
5 damage. Yeah,
you get that thing down.
Pretty good.
That's a must counter card. I don't know. I'm not on this Ankh Mishra idea. I can't think about anything else. Then there's the decks where an Ankh Mishra is not necessarily going to do anything for you. There were 4 Storm decks, 1 Test deck, but I think Storm is an interesting deck right now. It's just so powerful when the person knows how to play it well.
Yeah. I didn't know how to play it particularly well, and I was winning every game that wasn't against Black-Red Reanimator.
Yeah. Played against that tonight. Did not go my way. I played 2 Swamps. That was what I did. 4 Elves decks. I don't know. Like, you got Check Pile, you've got 5 Stoneforge decks, you've got 7 Delver decks. Elves seems like a pretty good choice. This Miracles deck is probably not as good against it as it used to be either.
No, I mean, how many times can you get like all those dudes off the board? And if they have a swing in against you one time, like you're not playing as much counter magic as you were playing before. You can't lock them out of the game like you could before. So I think that you have those two times a game you could expect to cast Terminus, but if they can have enough cards in their hand that they can just keep going after you Terminus, then it's going to be tough for it. It's going to be tough for you to get back into the game if you're Miracles.
Yep. I don't know. I wonder how good. I've been playing Elves online, and I don't know what I'm doing. As long as I don't play against a combo deck, I never sideboard. I'm just like, yeah, sure, whatever. We'll do it again. We'll see. You put some guys into play, and then I win. And I think that was all the major archetypes that had more than 3 appearances. There were a couple other things that were interesting. There was an actual junk deck with Dark Confidant and Stoneforge Mystic, after my own heart. That player topped the Channel Fireball event, so congratulations to him. There was an Eldrazi and Taxes deck, and 2 Death and Taxes decks, and 1 Maverick deck. So I guess that's sort of like 4 Thalia decks, which, I don't know how good Thalia is right now. It just gets eaten, it gets destroyed by stupid Gurmag Angler. And there was one, out of all these, I talk about 6 tournaments, there was 1 Show and Tell deck in the top 8. And I think in the full, if you look at all the decks from the Magic Online Challenge, like the top 32 I think they post, there was 0 Show and Tell.
That's crazy. I don't know, like, it seems like an okay meta for Show and Tell to be in, actually. If the best decks are Grixis Delver, which is not a great matchup per se, but like you at least know that matchup if you're a Show and Tell player, and you have those like, did I just oops I win like games.
There's not a lot of oops I win in any of these decks. There's the 1 test deck, and then there's 1 Alarin deck. So, and that's like oops I win, but on turn 12.
Yeah,
it's not like oops I win.
It's
on
like
turn
Splinter
2.
Twin in Modern. You don't necessarily just throw the combo into play. You just play an attrition game until your opponent can't win.
And then there were 2 Reanimator decks. One of them, which was the Reanimator Depths. I wonder if Dark Depths is the new just like oops I win hotness.
Mm-hmm.
That does my answer.
2020, Indestructible 2020 versus Emrakul. I think that the Indestructible 2020 still loses here.
Yeah, but you're not in that matchup all the time, right?
No,
yeah.
true.
I think it's very hard to play against for a lot of the fair decks. And I don't know, maybe people are sort of slow to respect that. It's a thing that can happen. Not that, what are people going to play? Crackling Doom?
Yeah, it seems like it's
this bug deck has
Crackling Doom
Force
doesn't
of Will.
even do it, does it? I think it destroys the highest.
No, it's you sacrifice.
It's sacrifice. Okay.
I was just looking at my Crackling Dooms. So
Yeah,
what am I going to put these in a deck? No, Caracas, they know how to play around Caracas. They know how to play around any sort of bounce effect or Swords of Plowshares. They know how to play around Edict effects with Dryad Arbor and Sylvan Safekeeper.
Mm-hmm. And they can play around Submerge.
Right, they don't have to play Forest, play their Bloomin' Marsh. And that's just for the combo versions, like the all-in. The lands deck just incidentally wins with it, and then they probably just board in Tireless Tracker. And that destroys you.
Yeah.
I had Tireless Tracker in my deck tonight, and I played Jund, like a stock Jund list, but I cut the Bloodbraid Elves to try Tireless Tracker and Chandra, Torch of Defiance.
And you had a Excavator in there.
And a Ramen Up Excavator in an Unearth. And I did nothing meaningful the entire night except cast Tarmogoyfs like a regular Jund person.
Yeah. Pretty much what I did tonight was cast Tarmogoyfs.
Will you tell everyone about stacks?
Oh, man. So, in the 3rd round, I played against this guy, Adam. He was on a stacks deck that was pretty intense. He was running, Sundrop?
It's Sun Droplet, yeah.
Sun Droplet. And he had Zoran Orb and several lodestone golems were cast against me. None of them stuck, thankfully. He had Inventor's Fair. What else did he have in that deck? I mean, he had Ensnaring Bridge. He was playing some of the deserts that make zombies. The deck was all over the place, but not for nothing, it beat my rug deck. And that could be the pile of cards theory that we talk about every now and again for rug. But it looked like it was a fun deck at the very least. If it wasn't great.
Fun is a zero-sum game. I walked over to your matchup, and he had a Chalice on 1, a Chalice on 2, a Sphere of Resistance, an Ensnaring Bridge, and a Sun Droplet. And then he was gaining 1 life a turn from his Inventor's Spear every turn.
Yeah.
While you had 2 True Names that could not attack through the bridge.
Yeah.
Too miserable.
I needed the True Names out a little bit earlier. I needed 4 land because he had out a Thorn of Amethyst, so I need a 4th land so I could play a True Name. But then I would have been able to attack him a couple of times. And that's fine if he gains like 2 life a turn, but I'm like actually bringing him down. And I had a Sulfuric Vortex in my hand, so I had the 3 cards I needed against him, but I didn't draw my 4th land to cast any of these spells for like 5 turns. Meanwhile, he's got 2 Ghost Quarters in play. He didn't Ghost Quarter me. I thought he could have just Stone Aged me out of the game, but he didn't. It didn't matter. I didn't draw the lands I needed.
I don't know. He must have known you didn't have basics, but you never know. I had a basic in my rug deck because I accidentally looked at Volcanic Island at home.
Decided in a basic forest because I saw Sam show up, and Sam is notorious for playing like Esper Stoneblade and playing Wasteland into Surgical Extraction on my tropical islands. So I was just like, you know what? I'll just take this misdirection out. I'll put in this forest, and I'm gonna keep playing Magic against this guy.
You did that 4 Misties for Wooded Foothills. I know it's not what you had, but
I have 3 Wooded Foothills and 4 Misties.
Oh, you do have Misties. I thought you said you had something else. Sorry.
No. And I have 1 Flooded Strand. And I go back and forth between what lands I want to play in particular, but I think I want to be able to fetch that forest if I need it. Although I had thought about just playing a 1 main deck Taiga.
Yeah.
Same situation, but
never works like you want it to. You draw the days.
You always draw it like on turn 1 with a handful of blue cards. It never fails.
I don't know. I love playing Rug. Every time I'm winning with it, I'm like, how do I ever lose this deck? And the answer is easy. But like, played against with it. I played against like a bug control deck. That was a pretty bad slaughter.
It's hard
for me. That was just hard. But then I beat the Grixis player. Then I beat Nick Fit. I played against 3 Deathrite Shaman decks, and I beat 2 of them. Like, I felt pretty good about that. But it's so nice. Like, I will say this about the Narnian Renegade, including Mandrel's plan, is that you never even have to tap 2 lands to put anything into play.
No, you're good.
It was always tapping 1 land, and I feel like that makes a big difference. Like, it's weird in Rugs, someone could be like, oh, I gotta tap out for this Tarmogoyf. But, you know, I mean, I don't know. I'm not saying that that's going to be like the best way to play this deck. I definitely had a lot of 1/2 Narnian Renegades in play because I didn't have fetch lands, and I was just like, well, I have to play this. But I also definitely like had people reading it and then like picking up their Gurmag Angler and then reading it again and then looking back at their Gurmag Angler.
Yeah.
So that was kind of fun. Like, it is nice. You can just sort of keep attacking with it. And the Hooting Mandrels was really good against like Young Pyromancer.
Yeah, trample is a funny thing. It's the evasion that you. It's not the evasion you want, but it's the evasion you deserve.
Yeah, it's the evasion you get.
Yeah.
You know, in green, like there's not a lot of evasion. Speaking of no evasion, so I watched this Titanium Games, part of the top 8 of it from the In-N-Out Burger drive-thru. I was getting a burger for my daughter. It was a long line, and I texted you. Do you remember? Did I text you a picture? The guy playing Maverick had 2 7/7 Knights in play.
Oh, yes.
And Athalia. The other guy had 1 True Name. Who won?
The guy with True Name won, of course.
Of course he won. You know, he drew his Swords to Plowshares, he killed one of the Knights, the other one was just fogged. Then Maverick player basically just like destroyed all of his own lands to try and get the other guy to wasteland him out or to grow Knight. Whatever he was trying to do. He was just trying to find some way. He ended up getting a Gaia's Cradle and playing and going to equip in the same turn a sort of Fire Nice. He couldn't do it with the Knight because he just used Knight to get the guy's Cradle. But he goes put on Thalia, and the other player plays, the Bant still plays Zealous Persecution, which kills Thalia. Now, he might have had a win if he had been able to stick it to the Kasali Pride Mage that he hadn't played, but he didn't want this Pride Mage to get swords because he knew the other player had some sort of equipment stick in his true name.
Mm-hmm.
So, the way that was played, he could have put on his Knight and still lose his swords. The only card he really lost to that was not on the radar was Zealous Persecution. I don't know. I still feel like True Name's a stupid card. Like, the guy had 2 7/7s and lost against his 3/1, and the Knight was like, he gained like 15 life off all the Swords to Plowshares on the Knights, and he still lost because True Name just got into a batter skull. Oh, it was so miserable. I don't know. I mean, this is not anything against the player who I like on this, the Bant player who I think his name is Tom. I've met once, and he's a nice guy, and nothing against him. I certainly love playing Bant, but like, jeez, I'm like, watch this guy. I remember telling Zach, watch this guy lose.
True Name Nemesis, man. That card it's the best Magic card that you can cast for 3 mana when your opponent's playing a fair game.
It really is. It really is, isn't it? Like, I don't know, man. Like, what's he gonna do? I mean, Trample. He could try and give his Knight Trample. He could Knight up a Rogue's Passage that was suggested.
Knight up a Rogue's Passage.
I mean,
like, just at that point, like, why not just like splash red and play what's it called, a Teamer Battle Rage or something like that,
or just play Berserk.
Or Berserk, yeah. Berserk is a card you should play over Teamer Battle Rage if you ever have the chance.
If you're in Legacy and you're playing green, yeah, you play Berserk. I mean, that is a consideration. It is. I use Knight as like my number one example of like why True Name sucks, but I actually don't think that Knight might actually just be bad for other reasons right now.
Yeah.
Like Tireless Tracker has been good. Like, I think it's a good card. Draw a bunch of cards and it still gets pretty big. I don't know. Just an aside, because I was watching this match, and it was like an interminable in and out line, and I think he was dead by the time we got to the other bit.
Jesus.
Oh, come on, man. Just once I want to see Maverick win. Though he got to top 4, so good for him. What else we got? Anything of interest to our...
I can't think of a whole lot. I mean, we saw some activity when I posted last week on the Reddit Legacy page. That was interesting.
I think we had some okay discussion around the edges. I mean, I hope that people understood that we were just... I felt that there was a lot of discussion about whether or not the format is getting too samey and too, like, on rails.
Yeah.
And it's funny because, like, we played tonight, and there's a guy with Stacks, and there's a guy with Burn, and there's, I was on John, you're on Rug. So it's like... That's why I wanted to look at the paper results tonight, though. There's a little bit more variation if you look at paper.
I think the thing that to take away from a lot of this is that the top 8 of these tournaments might be a little samey, but the road to the top 8 is not as samey as you would think it is. You're not just seeing Bant decks and Stoneblade decks and Grixis decks. You're seeing a lot that isn't making it into the top 8. And then once you get out of like round 4, you're going to see a lot of the same decks. But those first 4 rounds in Legacy is anything. It's just like whatever you could muster together to bring to this tournament. So, do I think that Legacy is stale? A little bit, but I don't think that it's so stale that like we need to go ban crazy. Do I think Deathrite Shaman is a card that people should be able to play in Black? I don't. But I'm not trying to change anyone's mind about that. I think Snapcaster. We touched on Snapcaster. I think Snapcaster's fine. It's not being abused. It certainly could be abused, but it's not being abused. So I think that card's fine.
I think we're talking about when we talk about these topics, it's more like, do we wish this card had never been printed?
Yeah.
Personally, now that I play with Deathrite Shaman, I kind of wish it hadn't printed so I could actually not feel bad about not having it.
Yeah.
But I would feel like pretty miserable not being able to play it in a lot of decks I like. And like True Name, it's like, it's a 3-man. Like, you can just daze it. Just daze it, But, I don't always want to do that. Snapcaster, I just wish wasn't... I wish it had been red. I know why it's blue, but I wish it was red or something. Like, just something that would make you think a little bit longer about how to build your deck. instead of just being like, this just goes in here because I already have all this stuff, you know?
I mean, you have access to dual caster mage, Nate.
I do. I know. Actually, you know what? I had Eternal Witness in my little box of potential cards to play tonight. And I was thinking I could unearth my Eternal Witness, then get back my Unearth. I'm like, oh yeah, it's almost as sick as doing it with Snapcaster.
Yeah.
Almost,
Yep,
but not quite. I mean, so there's these effects are out there. I don't know. I feel like the format's okay. Like for right now, I don't really want to begrudge anyone for feeling like. But I also wouldn't begrudge people for saying, for example, like I feel like I have to play this certain kind of deck to do well. And you know, to see two Miracles decks win is kind of funny after all that, right?
Yeah. I mean,
these big events, 209 players.
I'm rooting for you know non-Underground Sea fair decks to get back out there. Truthfully, I think that's the future of Magic the Gathering. I'd like to hope, but you know, the Underground Sea decks to me are like the Yankees, you know? It's just like the evil empire. It's just like, yeah, we get it. You like to draw cards, and you don't mind paying life to look at your opponent's hand, take cards away. The cards that you have access to are just that good. And, you know, whatever. That's fine. You can be the evil empire if you want to be the evil empire.
Yeah. No, that's a good way of putting it. I think a lot of people feel that way. That's sort of how I felt about Miracles at the time.
Oh, for certain, yeah. I felt that was the same situation. You were literally the Yankees.
Well, it's interesting though because I feel like with the way this deck is built now, it just is so satisfying to see like a predict, like an old portent, like these old bordered cards.
Yeah, of course.
You know, like look at how good these old bordered cards still are. Even though I still get like my face kicked in by the deck, at least I'm not getting counterbalance locked. At least it's like old times where you have to hit me with a counterspell. Well, with that. Let's go buy some Cavern of Souls.
Yeah, it's time. So I think that might be it for the week.
Yeah, so we hope you enjoyed our live-ish show.
The first live show, episode 46.
Yeah, right. We're in the same room. And, yeah, have a good night.
Have a good one, everybody.
Stuff, animal stuff. Can you see animal stuff? It's how it goes. Keeping up with the Joneses. Stuff, animal stuff. Can you see animal stuff? It's how it goes. Keeping up with the Joneses. I'm keeping up with the Joneses. Keeping up with the Joneses. All right. Where does he get those wonderful toys?